Savannah, Hilton Head, Southeast Georgia, and the Low Country. This is WJCL 22 News.
We are in the final moments of the 2016 election season. Millions going to the polls to elect our next commander-in-chief.
Tonight we have live team coverage not just of the presidential race, but of Georgia and South Carolina's important local and state races.
Thanks so much for joining us tonight at 6 o'clock. I'm Shannon Royster.
And I'm Chris Tatum. Thank you so much for being with us. We'll soon start seeing results of what many think will go down in history now as the most memorable election in recent American history. Polls will close within the hour in several states, and that includes Georgia and South Carolina. And within a few hours, we should know whether Democrat Hillary Clinton or Republican Donald Trump will lead our nation for the next 4 years.
Well, you see Hillary Clinton greeting well-wishers this morning before casting her ballot in her hometown of Chappaqua, New York. Clinton is hoping to become the first female president in U.S. history and has been working toward this moment since she announced her bid in April of 2015. In Georgia, voters are deciding whether the state will remain red or turn blue by electing a Democratic presidential candidate for the first time in more than 20 years.
Well, Donald Trump spent this election day in New York. Now, he voted there early this morning, and as he left that polling precinct, he high-fived two little boys selling cookies outside. And tonight, Republicans are confident Donald Trump will win Georgia. The latest public polling shows he has a slight lead over Clinton in the Peach State.
And we kick off our team coverage in Chatham County tonight.
That's right. WJCL's Carly McGuire is live at the Republican headquarters on East 73rd Street. Hey, Carly.
Well, Chatham County Republicans are not taking for granted that slight lead that you mentioned, Chris. They're starting to gather here at the headquarters, and they're getting ready to watch those results come in. But they said they've worked very hard these last few months, and especially these last few days, to make sure Republican voters get to the polls. They do want to keep Georgia red, not just for Donald Trump, but for Senator Johnny Isakson, for Congressman Buddy Carter, and for a handful of local races as well. So they have been canvassing, knocking on doors, phone banking, waving signs at intersections, doing everything they can to remind voters to get to the polls. They know so many people have had their minds made up for months, but they want to remind the people that are hesitant about going to the polls to just get there. Now, there is 1 hour left. If you get in line before 7, you will be able to vote. So they're just hoping people will continue to head to the polls if any of those long lines deterred them today. And then after that, they're going to be heading here to watch those results. We are going to be here for the duration of the night. We're going to bring you reaction as the results come in from our local Republican group. But for now, live in Savannah, Carly McGuire, WJCL 22 News.
All right, Carly, we look forward to your reports throughout the evening. Well, despite that slight lead, public polling shows Donald Trump to have over Democrats. Democrats do believe when the votes are actually counted, they will claim Georgia.
Former President Bill Clinton is the last Democrat to take Georgia, and that was back in 1992.
WJCL's Lauren Bradley joins us live right now from a Democratic watch party on Savannah's Abercorn Street. Hey, Lauren.
Well, right now we are standing outside Double's Lounge, and this is where Democrats are going to be gathering to watch the results from the big election roll in. Now, we do know that today they were out knocking on doors. They were also manning the phone banks as early as 6 o'clock this morning, encouraging people to get out there and vote. We also know that local Democratic candidates were out there waving campaign signs. Members of the Democratic Party of Georgia say they're very pleased with voter turnout so far. They say lots of people were motivated and voted early. Now, Democrats I talked to say they're confident they can turn the state of Georgia blue for the first time in decades. And we do know that there is another Democratic watch party tonight, that one at Tondi's Tavern in downtown Savannah. And if you haven't voted yet, the clock is ticking, but you still have about 45 minutes to get out there and cast your vote. We're live in Savannah tonight. Lauren Bradley, WJCL 22 News.
And we are also following two big U.S. Senate races. Senator Johnny Isakson is being challenged by Democrat Jim Barksdale and Libertarian Alan Buckley. Isakson needs more than 50% of the vote to avoid a runoff.
And in South Carolina, 3 challengers hope to take incumbent Senator Tim Scott's seat in the South Carolina legislature. Thomas Dixon, Bill Bledsoe, and Rebel Scarborough, all determined to unseat Scott.
Some polling places in Chatham County ran into a few issues today. Only 2 out of 6 polling machines were working at St. Francis Episcopal Church. Polling leaders said it's because some of the machines weren't charging properly. Some residents waited in line for nearly 2 hours before they had a chance to vote. But many say despite their frustrations, it was worth the wait.
Well, it is important to be out here regardless of the circumstances. Obviously, this is a very, very pivotal election in our country's history. So despite this, it's worth being out here.
Polling leaders were able to fix the problem. They brought in 4 new polling machines from other precincts.
Well, several Lowcountry voters are braving long lines today to cast their ballots. Now, some arrived at the polls early, hoping to beat those long lines. And you can see here just how long those lines got at some points throughout the day. The candidates' supporters, of course, were out in full force as well. They are hoping to influence voters as they headed to those polls.
It's the right thing. It's the right person at the right time.
South Carolina closed today so election leaders could actually use them as polling precincts. And South Carolina voters are turning out in droves today to exercise their right to vote. And election leaders say they have encountered a few problems.
WJCL's Tori Simkovic is at the Bluffton Library with the story there. Hey, Tori.
Well, Shannon and Chris, it's dark now here in Bluffton, but the lines continue to grow here at the Bluffton Library. Now, one poll worker tells me this is actually the busiest he has seen it in his 16 years as a poll worker. Now, South Carolina is a heavily red state, and Beaufort County is no different. We're expecting a big turnout here for Trump, incumbent Senator Tim Scott, and incumbent Representative Mark Sanford. There are also 2 school board seats up for grabs, and several state elections we're following closely. There are 2 potential new taxes on the ballot as well, a penny tax to support county roads and infrastructure, and another penny tax for school facility projects for Beaufort County schools. Now, we'll be here until the polls close at 7 p.m. tonight, but so far, poll workers tell me everything has run smoothly. We're live in Bluffton. Tori Simkovic, WJCL 22 News.
All right, thanks so much, Tori. Well, Beaufort County voters are deciding on a couple important questions that deal with schools as well. Now, the first, can the Beaufort County School Board borrow up to $217 million to pay for the construction of new schools, renovations and repairs, and the purchase of new land for the school district? The second, can the Beaufort County School District impose a 10-year 1% sales tax to reduce property taxes, pay debt service on school district bonds, and pay for projects? You'll want to stay tuned for the results of those questions.
Well, there's another question on the Beaufort County ballot as well, whether to increase the sales tax by 1% to pay for infrastructure projects across Beaufort County. Now, this is separate from that increase Shannon just mentioned requested by the school district. Right now, Beaufort County pays about 6% in sales tax, but if both of these measures pass, it actually would go up to 8%.
And we're keeping a close eye on the Chatham County Sheriff's race tonight.
Republican incumbent John Wilcher squaring off against Democratic challenger MacArthur Holmes. Our Frank Solkowski is following Sheriff Wilcher tonight and joins us from Savannah's South Side. Hey, Frank.
That's right, guys. We're at Spanky's South Side, where the sheriff, John Wilcher, is expected to make an appearance here about 7:30 this evening. Of course, the sheriff, well, he's on the ballot as the Republican incumbent again. He has taken on MacArthur Holmes, the Democratic challenger today. And of course, you talk about it, the sheriff, John Wilcher, he's been on the job since late spring when he defeated Roy Harris in that special runoff election. That was following the death of longtime Sheriff Al St. Lawrence. And I can tell you this, Sheriff Wilcher, he's only been on the job for a couple of months, but it's a position that he's wanted his entire life. He always said this longtime Chatham County resident has always wanted to be the sheriff here in Chatham County, and he's making sure he stays that way. I've talked to several people today who said they received phone calls from Sheriff Wilcher as he's been campaigning in the days leading up to today's election. Again, we have the incumbent sheriff, John Wilcher. He's going to be doing his watching here at Spanky Southside. He's expected to arrive around 7:30, 7:45. Again, he has taken on the Democratic challenger, MacArthur Holmes, in today's sheriff's election. Of course, we're going to keep you updated from right here as the sheriff and those numbers begin to roll in. Guys, reporting in Southside Savannah, Frank Solkowski, WJCL 22 News.
All right, Frank, thank you. Well, let's now check in on Sheriff Wilcher's challenger, MacArthur Holmes.
That's right. WJCL Steve King is in Pooler, where Holmes lives. Steve, what do you have for us?
Well, here at Pooler City Hall, Sheriff candidate MacArthur Holmes is hoping that the voters decide to vote for him. Now, MacArthur Holmes was in the Chatham County Sheriff's Office where he earned the rank of colonel. He says that experience is why he should be the next Chatham County Sheriff. Now, Holmes is the Democratic candidate after beating Kim Middleton in the primary last spring. Speaking of Holmes' experience, he says while he was the colonel, he was the jail administrator, which means that he has the ability to manage people, which would make him an effective sheriff. Now, right now, I do want to also mention he ran against Al St. Lawrence in 2012. That was the same year that Holmes retired from the sheriff's office. He's hoping to be the next Chatham County Sheriff for the next 4 years. Again, he hopes that his message was heard throughout his campaign and that all of the voters come out and want to decide to vote for him. He says right now his whole focus is on making sure that he keeps an eye on those final numbers. Of course, that's what everyone is focused on. Reporting live in Pooler, Steve King, WJCL 22 News.
Things have been running pretty well here, but that's not the case in Columbus, Georgia. Poll workers there say a glitch caused voting machines to mistakenly block some people from casting a ballot. The problem has been fixed, but there's no word yet on what caused it. Our Commitment 2016 coverage continues next at 6.
We check in with some battleground states to see what's happening there.
That's right. Plus, Donald Trump already filing suit in one of those states. We'll tell you why.
But first, some important amendments facing Georgia voters.